What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, Henrik the Wreck?
Chris, it's Wednesday. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Man, life is good. I know everybody's been, digging deep into the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. Are you one of those guys? Have you been laser focused in on that?
I'm not a huge fan of either of them, but it's real funny to see all the back and forth between them. And I think I'm on Kendrick's side with this one. There's something going on with Drake.
Yeah, I definitely think so. It seems like he's playing more on the defense more than anything. But man, we've had some pretty legendary diss tracks over the years. Like, you could think of the likes of Tupac or even Ice Cube, man. He's had some pretty electrifying song tracks. But hey, this kid's face beamed brighter than a supernova when he discovered his bedroom had been transformed into a gamer's utopia, all thanks to his sneaky cousin.
Ready? Ta-da!
What the fuck? I love you! I'm gonna have a heart attack! How much are we? He wants to watch me! Oh, what the hell? I love you! I love you! Now we twins!
Yeah.
I don't think he could express his excitement enough, honestly, is what I was getting from that.
Yeah, I would go bananas. Like, I know, a lot of kids were hyped, when, under the Christmas tree, and we would see, maybe potentially a PlayStation or a Nintendo 64, but I guess that's the new real thing with the newer generations. Not the consoles. It's the PCs. Maybe I was wrong after all, Henrik.
What does that say, Chris? That says that PC is the way to go.
It's starting to show me that I'm on the wrong side of the force. But let's go ahead and see the comments. The first one that we got here is, now we can finally play Gary's mod and have Minecraft Java edition. Yes, this kid's been totally missing
Hey, you know
out.
what? Gary's mod is a classic.
Yeah, maybe he's been on offline mode with Minecraft and he's just been missing out on all the grand things in total. The next comment that we got here is, man, y'all remember that feeling whenever we got a gaming system for a birthday or Xmas? Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
Same thing happening here. Such a great feeling. It really is, man. Oh my gosh. Hey, parents, if you're tuning on in right now, the idea doesn't just stop that we get older, okay? You can still buy me any kind of new gaming system. The next one here is, oh, this kid about to be a menace in the game chat. And haha, did he just say, who wants to wrestle me? I thought he did kind of say that. This guy's
it kind of
already
did sound like that. Maybe it was the accent. Maybe he said something else. But...
Yeah, he better be careful. He might be too toxic for my chat. I might have to censor him.
He's going to find where you live and wrestle you.
Yeah, he might be using some of those problematic Fortnite emotes, and I might have to consider turning on that setting. Yes, exactly. I might have to consider turning on that setting after all. But hey, the next clip that we got here is Freddy Fazbear is back, and this time he's not just making every trip to Build-A-Bear Workshop feel like a survival horror game. He's terrorizing a new generation of young lads who now suspect every teddy bear of secretly harboring a sinister animatronic agenda.
Yo, what did you just ask me?
Is that Freddy Fazbear?
Bro.
Yeah, he doesn't even know that that's a different character. I mean, he's probably making a joke, but
it could be, or maybe there's just not enough cartoon or video game character bears out there, and that's the only thing that we think about nowadays, or at least for this newer generation. Generation
come on,
A,
Yogi Bear. Yogi Bear's a Hanna-Barbera classic.
Hey, but at least 3,336 people say, put him in the lost and found. Leave him. Next one that we got here is Generations Cooked. And last, y'all can't blame him. He's literally a toddler. We're getting to that age, people. Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean,
yeah. On
a level, my brain kind of had a hazy moment too when I saw that statue. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh shit, that really is Yogi the Bear. So I'll at least give him a hall pass. But hey, Henrik, yes, exactly. But hey, GTA Online is still as chaotic as ever, with players causing more mayhem than a herd of cats in a laser pointer factory, with viral content spewing faster than a busted fire hydrant in a hurricane.
Now imagine showing this clip to that grandma that was being convinced that GTA was real life.
Yeah, that's right. I know. The futuristic city that's just outside SoFi Stadium. You know this, Grandma. It's a brand new city. I thought you watched the news more than me.
That poor guy got crushed by a car. He flew across the street.
I know. Maybe Grandma would have known better if we're not like trying to ban TikTok, because that's what they're saying, right? The real news is on TikTok, not the local news. Oh, forget about it. Let's get inside the comments. The first one that we got here is, stay safe out there. Los Santos isn't for starters. Yeah, it really isn't. I mean, I feel like I'm an advanced player, but if you just randomly jump in after like 2 years, what's going to happen, Henrik?
You're going to die.
You're gonna die. It's not safe out there. The next comment that we got here is, just opened Life Invader Reels. Some of those clips are pretty funny. Who knew that people actually jump onto GTA Online just to pretend that you're like breaking the fourth wall in a sense to record someone else's gameplay inside of a video game? What are we doing, fam? And last, prayers from Vice City. You know what? If
condolences to the family.
Yes, exactly. If life gets too hard, you can step away from the online experience and play Vice City. But man, this is a very wild story, gamers. A priest shocked the congregation when it was revealed that he had been using church funds for more than just the collection plate. Apparently, his idea of a divine intervention involved a few too many microtransactions?
A Pennsylvania Catholic priest is accused of stealing parish funds to play games like Candy Crush. Lawrence Kozak is charged with theft and related crimes. Authorities say he racked up tens of thousands of dollars in expenses over 3 years and used some of that cash to play cell phone games like Pokemon Go. The Archdiocese has placed Kozak on administrative leave.
Of course it was mobile games. It wasn't Fortnite. It was Candy Crush and Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I was actually going to be quite impressed that this Catholic priest actually knew where to find the power button on the PS5. I was really going to be quite impressed. You know how generations are. They're like, what's an HDMI? They still don't know what that is to this day. But yes, they are definitely more involved than ever on the mobile devices. And the first comment that we got here around this viral clip was, what the F he buying in Candy Crush that's worth $40K? I'm kind of wondering what the hell that is.
Just a lot of times and spending money.
He clearly wishes he used the church funds at Dave & Buster's. Oh, wait, we'll be diving into that later. Next comment that we got here is, should have gambled it, not gonna lie. Maybe
maybe you could have gotten a return. Not necessarily condoning gambling church funds, but maybe you could have made it 80 grand.
Yes, I know. Yeah, we were hoping that he was actually going to take it to the casino, so then he could have doubled the wager on tithing and really blessed the good Lord. But you know what? This guy spent all the money on Candy Crush and Pokemon Go. Shame. The next comment we got here is, he didn't touch minors this time. In a sense, 40,000 does sound like a lot, but I'm going to have to agree with that comment, Henrik. At least he didn't touch minors, but it truly is definitely awful. And that is Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. We are excited for you guys to be tuning in live, and we got so much more to pack on in. We got gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. And this, I will encourage again for the viewers that are tuning in live, join the conversation. Your voice will be heard. We will showcase you guys here on the lower third. Just join the chat box from wherever you're tuning in. That could be either YouTube, X, or Twitch. But Henrik the Wreck, are you ready to get this show on the roll, my man?
Absolutely, Chris. And I know what time it is. It's time to talk about a game.
That's right, baby. Woo!
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Manor Lords. Manor Lords just recently released into early access on Steam and was a highly anticipated and wishlisted game on the platform with more than 4 million wishlists. So clearly this game has captivated a lot of people with what it has to offer. And with that in mind, let's take a look at the game, starting with the gameplay. The gameplay of Manor Lords falls into the genre of city builder. Think cities, skylines, but with a medieval setting. As such, it is mostly a comfy game where you'll get to spend all your time building out your medieval town with buildings, houses, and farmlands. There is a small bit of combat gameplay, but it's really not the focus of the experience. When presented, the combat is reminiscent of a real-time strategy game, and there is even a quote difficulty slider to prevent there from being any combat in the first place. But how about the story? Is there even one? As of right now, the game doesn't have much story. Simply put, all you have to know is that you are a lord of the land and you are to build out your plot. If combat is enabled, you are driving out forces of rivaling lords who are trying to claim the land as their own. Since the game is in early access, they may add more story alongside additions and improvements to gameplay. However, it is not a precedent to add a story to a game of this genre. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
Can you believe that this is a game made by one guy?
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable.
Like, I know it probably took him a long time, a lot of time and effort to do it, but that really speaks to how much of passion he has for making this game come to be the way it is and continue to get updates as it moves forward through early access. And I'm going to say it, that's also why indie games is the way to go right now. There's so many great projects that are made by small teams like this guy, who's one guy.
I was going to say one guy.
You know,
not much of a team. He's just commanding his own ship.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, that's just, I think that it's really a move towards indie games in the industry right now, because there's so many games like this where it's the same sort of situation. It's like one guy or three guys, and, just working on something that they want to put out and not have to worry about, oh, the shareholders said we got to put this in the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it feels like in the year of the Mamba, 2024, that, indie games have definitely been thriving and more gamers are embracing early access. And yeah, Manor Lords may be in early access, but at least it's not trying to mix Pokemon with firearms like Pal World, a game that probably leaves Pikachu wondering where it all went wrong. Like, Pal World's totally lost sustain for its global audience. And I'm kind of wondering whether Manor Lords can hold on to that. Henrik, what do you think about that?
Well, there's a big difference between those two games, this game and Pal World. Yeah, they're both in early access, but Pal World got a lot of attention because it's a Pokemon-styled game with guns. This is a city builder. The genre and demographic that genre pulls in is people that I'd wager to say are a little bit more patient with just things in general. I mean, you got to be patient enough to play this game,
but that's
because it
true.
isn't a fast-paced game.
In a sense, that's true. I agree with you, Henrik. Yeah, it was definitely advertised as being city building, but we also saw some combat gameplay before the release of the early access. And I just got to say, Henrik, I always like to pull these analogies when I'm describing these video games. And the combat gameplay is like an outnumbered Spartan army from 300. It's entertaining, but not quite reaching the epic scale of Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. It's more like a skirmish in the Shire than a battle for Middle Earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's trying to redefine, the RTS games with its, pretty cool feature, I would say, where you can go into that first person mode where you can really feel like, you're doing your, you look into the landscape of your village that you built and you're like, did I just really build that? It's probably the closest thing that I felt in years, like that same experience I got from Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah, that mode where you can go walk around in third person around the town that you've built, that's an awesome addition. And I'm surprised that other games haven't done that yet, because imagine any city builder like City Skylines or Roller Coaster Tycoon. Imagine you could actually hop in to a roller coaster and ride the roller coaster rather than just see it from a top-down view. Like, it's just so much more thrilling for the people that want that thrilling gameplay,
Well, we have the capabilities now, especially with our suited up rigs that we got with PC gaming, but it's still a catapult shot away from being a complete game. It's more like a castle under construction than a fully fortified fortress. I mean, the city building in Manor Lords can be satisfying as painstakingly crafting, its perfect roller coaster, as I was joking about Roller Coaster Tycoon. But, it's not all quite there as of yet. I want to like the game, but I just feel like, as I was joking around, you can go on strolls through the cobblestone streets at a pace slower than a snail on vacation, but it's still like new features like this that definitely feel like this could potentially be the future of RTS games, but it's not quite there yet. I know it's only a team of one, so it's not quite a team. It's just a one-man army. I would like to see this game expand, but for the moment, Henrik, I'm going to say it's a pause. I want to see a game complete. I just don't understand how we're just like reframing games to be like early access when we just like shitted on for the last 2 years, last 5 years, matter of fact, for games like Cyberpunk 2077, giving us a game that's not fully complete. Maybe that's only because they advertise it as complete, but I just don't know why we keep continuing to purchase games like this when it's clearly there's still a lot of bugs throughout Manor Lords.
Well, yeah, but it's about context at that point because, yeah, like with Cyberpunk, they advertised it as a fully fledged completed game, and then you come to find out it's not finished, and it didn't really get into a fully finished state until like a couple years later when they had fixed a bunch of bugs and put out updates and things like that. Whereas with this, it's an early access game, so you're going into it already expecting there to be maybe some bugs, some things that are unfinished.
So really what are you saying? Are you saying I'm being a little too harsh on the rating? Are you not agreeing with my verdict?
Well,
it kind of seems like you go, come on, Chris, like that's not a fair assessment.
I'm just saying, give it a little bit of slack. Also, it's one dude.
So now we're giving slacks for early access.
At the same time, I will say this genre is not really the city builder genre is not really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I was interested based on the fact that there's a lot of people interested in the game. And I think that it is a good game. It's not necessarily something I'd go back to all the time. Maybe I'd go back to it during the colder months of the year when you don't want to go outside. And it's more of like, I want to stay inside and play video games. And, what can I do to pass the time? Let me play some comfy game like Manor Lords.
Right.
And I think that is the kind of time frame that this game will probably lend to the best when people are stuck inside and want something comfy to do and not be stressed out with the next Call of Duty lobby that they're hopping into.
This kind of style of game even really kind of made me go like, man, like we could really use Age of Empire with this kind of style of features. And I think that what this one developer's onto. And clearly gamers are supporting it.
The RTS part of this game is not really at the level of Age of Empires or StarCraft or Warcraft, any of that yet. It could get to that point.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it being where it is, it's not really fair,
but it's still an incredible milestone. I mean, like you stated in your awesome pause and repeat video, over 4 million Steam users were waiting on that wait list. And it's just incredible to kind of see that, there are gamers out there, especially in the PC community, that support, indie developers. And I think it's so super, super bitchin', especially considering some of the news that we'll be exploring later on this episode with new studio closures and layoffs. But we haven't heard it from you yet, Henrik. What are you vibing with when it comes to Manor Lords?
For now, it's a pause, but I'm going to keep my eye on it. And if more updates come out in the future that entice me to come back, that might change.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, who knows? We've never done it before, but do we have a back-to-back on pause or repeat? We'll have to see what's good. But hey, we got a lot more here. It's a jam-packed show on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So Henrik the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend? Because the adrenaline's getting going. Like, this locomotive's rolling. I hope you can keep up with this kind of same energy.
Oh, you
ready to rock and roll
with me? You better keep up with me, Chris.
Okay,
it's time to rage.
It's time to rage, baby. Let's get it, gamers. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host Henrik the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. The creative director of Helldivers 2 must be feeling like a proud parent watching their child successfully negotiate for more screen time, as fans' willpower has convinced Sony to backpedal on requiring PlayStation Network accounts, which seems to have more influence than a room full of cats deciding whether to knock over a vase. And if you haven't seen the tweet in a post on X, Helldivers 2 creative director and CEO of developer Arrowhead Studio thanked Sony with the following tweet. Finally, I am impressed by the willpower of Helldivers 2 community and your ability to collaborate. Secondly, I want to thank our partners and friends at PlayStation for quickly and effectively making the decision to leave PSN linking optional. We together want to set a new standard for what a live game is and how developers and community can support each other to create the best game experience.
Or democracy.
For
Democracy prevails.
Should we be pouring a cup of Liberty? I don't have a glass mug, or a coffee mug, excuse me. Glass mug, what is this? But anyways, PlayStation announced it had given up on forcing a PSN account on PC players, proving that even the mighty console giant can be swayed by keyboard warriors, proving that even Sony can't handle the wrath of gamers more united than a squad in a battle royale. Well, gamers were quick to rejoice Sony's decision with the following comments. So let's go ahead and show the first one. This one says, I hope this is a lesson to everyone. We have the power of consumers, the corporations beholden to us, not us to them.
They're bringing that chart as a cape in the game to commemorate this moment.
I know, isn't that kind of funny and ironic how that's all working out? Overwhelmingly negative, and then within 3 days, make things change. It's a totally different era. Next comment we got here is, now everyone can leave Arrowhead alone. This is an absolutely insane W. Next comment here is, fans and developers won. Maybe next time, listen to the developers. Clearly, Arrowhead is in tune with gamers. Now, can everyone quit taking this out on Helldivers 2 developers? They ended up in the crossfire for this, and it wasn't fair to them, and they were doing what they were contractually obligated to do. While this is a victory for the players, you've left a lasting stain on your brand as a publisher. Many people have very little reason to trust Sony going forward. Moving the business before you understand the player base is never the right choice. Okay, Sony ain't going nowhere, dude. Please. There's no stain.
Not anytime soon, at least.
No. Okay, the dramatic. Okay, and the last one here is, great decision and glad it all got sorted out. However, it'll be interesting to see what percentage of the Steam reviews actually change their review. And yeah, you know, the player base has started to change back their negative reviews. I think it's more closer to the mixed side of the spectrum. But, you know, Henrik, I mean, who would have guessed that a game about interstellar warfare would find its toughest battle in the realm of online reviews?
Well, this is what happens when the gamers rise up against the people who are delivering what a lot of these games are trying to, call themselves as a service. Well, if we don't like the service, we're going to refuse to put up with that. And that's what a lot of the PC gamers especially have been willing to do in the first place, because when you really think about it, the biggest platform on Steam, on PC is Steam. And Steam is very heavily showing these reviews on the page for each game title. So the reviews actually matter a lot on Steam, because there's a lot of games that you'll see because, you know, you'll hear about them, or maybe a friend says, oh, you should go check this out. If you see the mixed or forbid the negative or overwhelmingly negative you're gonna say, maybe I'll skip on this one for now.
Right, but you might even have people that are tuning in from the United States, like where we're located, right? And you might go, like, why was this such a big deal? I only read the headlines. Like, this doesn't seem like a big deal. Just make a PSN account. Well, the problem was the game is also on a console and the PC, and the minute they required this mandate for the PSN, 177 regions around the world would no longer be able to buy Helldivers 2 because PSN isn't available worldwide, making PC gamers who originally bought the game on day one feeling betrayed by Sony's mandate. And I'm kind of wondering, Henrik, like, some gamers have been kind of speculated online, was this like Sony's way of like trying to harbor up, and boost the numbers of PSN accounts to kind of look good on the quote unquote books?
Definitely was.
Or, you think it was a mix of that kind of shadiness?
It's not necessarily shadiness per se. I don't know if that's necessarily the right word, but it is definitely some executives at Sony deciding, hey, we have these metrics of, okay, these are the people who are PSN members, and this is how much more likely they are to invest in other services, other games from us, just because they're PSN members already. And this is the metric of people who are not, and this is how much less likely they are to invest in our products. And I have a response for the people who think that it was such an easy requirement to fulfill. Well, in the United States, maybe it was easy.
Really easy.
In the UK, I believe it was the UK, you have to actually scan your photo ID to prove you're of age to make an account. That's so already wild. Really, really annoying to have to do.
Yeah.
And I have another thing to say.
Wow.
Asmongold, he said something really, really cool to one of his viewers in his chat. The viewer said, well, this is a super easy requirement. Why wouldn't it be a problem to do this? He said to the viewer, well, I'm going to ban you for now. And if you want to get unbanned, you're going to have to go sign up for our newsletter for my organization. And if you then sign up for it, prove to us that you've actually signed up for the newsletter, and then I'll unban you.
Yeah, but it's like, I get that. That's a really funny way to like view it as well. But then you can, sound like politicians like Nikki Haley that was once trying to run for this upcoming presidential election and then just dropped out. I don't know if you remember some of the words that she was trying to speak out to the American people, but she was stating that she goes, hey, listen, look, I think there needs to be an age restriction when it comes to social media. And I believe that you, the American people, need to upload your government ID online because we need to make sure that you're actually real. And that's what Sony is arguing. They were like, it was never about data harboring or trying to, boost the numbers up on, PSN accounts. It was really to protect from cheaters and hackers and really creating a safe environment for Helldivers 2. But I do have to say this, Henrik, because I think it's really, really important to also reference that, the Arrowhead CEO shouldn't be completely out of the mix when it comes to, it all being on Sony, because he was one of the people who disabled account linking at launch since it was preventing players from playing due to technical issues on the day one of the launch of Helldivers 2, but he didn't make people aware of the requirement, and they knew 6 months before the game launched that it would be mandatory. So on a level, he's kind of in the wrong, and I don't know if you saw this new petition, Henrik, but I don't know if anybody, the gamers out there, saw that there was a community manager that was working for Arrowhead, and he spoke out saying that he goes, I really shouldn't be saying this, but if you guys want to kind of sway the people over at Sony, why don't you guys post negative reviews? Well, he just recently got let go.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess his name is Spitz. And so he's saying he didn't involuntarily just let go. He said that he was told that he was fired and he understands it. And it's kind of strange too, because he's online talking about how much he loves Arrowhead and how it's his dream studio and he would love to come back. And now that they've completely turned the tide, you're thinking, hey, like, don't you kind of want that guy on the team? But then I also get at the same time, you're like, dude, what if this never happened? You brought the worst kind of hell, to Arrowhead Gaming. So it's definitely very insane.
It's one of those things where if you are employed for a company, your job is to work for the company, right? And even if your moral standing is one way, if you say what the company doesn't want you to say, they're most likely going to let you go.
That's
you can't
true.
work for a retail store and say,
Well,
"Oh,
that's true too,
don't
but
buy anything here. Buy from this other store across the street." They're going to let you go.
no, that's a good point. But like the community manager Spitz also came out and said, like, he's like, hey, listen, look, like, it's not something that I wanted to do. But, clearly if we put enough pressure on this, then, good vibes will start to come back our way for our studio company. But it could have been really as simple as just Sony requiring some kind of form of a 2-factor authentication instead of the PSN account, especially for those in the 177 regions. So
Are you
Sony
saying
has
that as like a way for security measures,
Right,
to
if
make sure that
they-
people are real?
well, if
all
that's
that
what
sort of thing.
PSN's going to stand on. I mean, they're the ones saying we're only trying to do this because of the cheaters and hackers. Okay.
I mean, the thing is, though, does Steam bans not exist? Like, I think that there's already a system in place for that on the Steam platform, and the
Good
game
point.
is not free to play. So,
Yeah.
like, if you get banned, you got to go give the company more money.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think,
it's not as simple if it were a free play game, for example.
So true, man. And this was definitely damage control for sure because, to me, I feel like this is definitely one of those games that's a runner-up as of the moment for potentially game of the year. They don't want any kind of bad publicity like this tarnishing their chances to really highlight this studio and potentially elevate them to the next tier of gaming. Because let me just put this last final thought into this topic. Helldivers 2 already ranks 7th in lifetime US dollar sales for Sony published games after just 2 months of availability. That's why they needed to correct the wrongs immediately. But
No, yeah,
man,
because it definitely is something that people are looking at and gonna be looking at come end of the year for Game Awards.
big time. But man, Henrik, who would have thought that in our lifetime this would be a thing, and whether the youth is going to embrace, well, it's actually not for the youth, it's for adults, but it definitely has that youthful vibe when you show up to the venue. Break it down. What's going on?
Yeah, so you like arcades? I like arcades.
Oh, hell
But
yeah.
Dave & Buster's is taking arcade gaming to the next level by letting you bet on your skee-ball skills. Just don't blame the machine when your jackpot dreams end up in the gutter. Dave & Buster's is turning friendly competition into a high-stakes affair with their new loyalty program using the Lucre Sports app, where you can earn rewards and exclusive perks by dominating your friends in games. It's like the Olympics, but with more nachos and fewer doping scandals.
Yeah, right. That's right.
The gamers chimed in with the following comments. You can go over those.
Dave & Buster's ain't going to be fun anymore if people raging behind you because they lost bread. Maybe it was that reward. They needed the extra nacho cheese, and this asshole named Henrik the Rack just ruined my chances because he one-upped me on the basketball hoop.
And maybe Dave & Buster's just needs that extra little bit of spice, a little rage in the air,
Yeah, exactly. Because I guess, the 120-inch screens watching UFC events over the weekend just not going to cut it. We need it 7 days out of the week. We can't just rely on one day in the weekend. Next comment we got here is, then they better hire more security. People really think the hands are going to be thrown down on DDR.
I mean, it's not like a casino, A casino already has security that will drag you out if you start to raise hell.
But Henrik, these young lads who started up Lucra, group app, they were the ones trying to say, hey, listen, Henrik, this is not gambling. Because this doesn't require chance. It doesn't require chance. This is a contest.
Okay, sure, yeah. When some of the arcade games are based on chance.
Like this one. Hear me out. ...
Exactly.
That definitely would be a game of chance. That's definitely not a contest. Let's go ahead and do the next comment. Gambling is really taking over the world. Yes, it really has. With mobile devices. I feel like if it was available in the state of California, bet your ass Chris Collins would definitely be joining the mix as well.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It's enticing. It really is. I totally get it. And that's why, there are lawmakers that are weary about this new plan that Dave & Buster has. And this one goes, losing my life savings, car, home, and wife because of my crippling addiction to the SpongeBob coin game. That's the game you're going to spend all your life savings
Of
on?
all the games, yeah.
I think I have my better chances, hooping it up, or matter of fact, DDR. But I don't know if I can let my hands stay on the bar. I might have to be swinging it. I might have to knock you off the mat because I need to have the higher advantage, Henrik, not you.
One way or another, I am going to win.
I feel like you could dance your ass off and whoop my ass in DDR. And next, me after one Dave & Buster's happy hour with the boys. I know that is freaking hysterical. But Henrik, are gamers about to turn Dave & Buster's into Fallout New Vegas, betting their life savings on skee ball and hoping their luck holds longer than the arcade's ticket machine? Because I know how that can get. I know how exciting that used to be back in the day as young lads as we were. But man,
hey,
times.
One side of me is like, hey, this seems like maybe not a good idea. But the other side's like, you know what, actually, I think people would really enjoy this. And I'm saying this also because some of my coworkers who don't even play games or even really go to arcades that often were like, hey, did you hear about this news? That means that a lot of people know that this is happening.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, there are some people that just go, hey, I don't like to play poker. I like to play a contest. And, we have these similar ideas when it comes to, even online. I'm blanking out on the terminology, but I know even when you're playing the Madden games, for example, there are those apps where you could link up against someone across the world and you can have a competitive wager and bet against each other. But Dave & Buster's plans to allow betting on its arcade games are already facing legal pushback by lawmakers in Ohio and Illinois before they could come even into fruition, because Dave & Buster's was claiming to get this thing going in 3 months, Henrik. I think that's totally wild. And I know Representative Dan Dedich, yes, very ambitious. He's a Democrat for Illinois, and he took things a step further last week by filing a bill to make sure that Dave & Buster's can't allow betting on its games in the state, stating, quote, every game has an element of skill or chance. You can play blackjack, a game everyone agrees is gambling, in a more skillful and less skillful way. And so that's why I was kind of joking amongst the comments, because Lucra Sports says it's a skill-based games are not subject to the same licenses and regulations as gambling operators face with games of chance. That's the key 3 words, games of chance. Are you buying that?
Well, not entirely. There's a lot of arcade games that aren't just skill, and then there's also arcade games where in order to actually win the jackpot, you have to hit a certain threshold of playtime. And that's something that's already all set up when the machine is set up itself. That's why when you go to some of those rope cutting things where it's like, oh, you win an iPhone if you cut the rope.
Yeah.
It's not going to cut the rope unless it's hit enough plays.
Or that stupid tower block game that always feels like it's just finesse. Yeah, dude, that's such a freaking
You feel
scam.
like you can do it if you're good enough, but
Never.
It's not going to be good enough at the end, even if you are really good, if it's not hit the quota.
It's so true. And, Dave & Buster's, it's not like they're letting minors do this. It was going to be available, if it does come into fruition, available in 44 states. You have to be 18 years or older to be a part of the mix. And Lucra is careful not to use the term bet or wager to describe its games. It says, quote, we use real money contests or challenges. So we'll actually see if it happens, but we're always super curious about you gamers. Is this something that's going to make you walk away from the PC gaming and the console to go to Dave & Buster's to actually play some real money contest or challenges with your homeboys? Let us know what's good.
Yeah, but moving on, we were just literally talking about Sony being flamed by people, but now what's going on with Xbox? They're also getting flamed.
Yes, that is correct, Henrik, because Xbox is shutting down Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog Games, and Roundhouse Studios. Arcane Austin worked on the 2017 Prey and Redfall with new development ending. What happened to the DLC? It's completely gone, and now there's no offline mode that's coming in the future. That's a freaking shame. For real, man. And Tango Gameworks was known for The Evil Within. Great game. And the critically acclaimed Hi-Fi Rush. Alpha Dog
We
game.
did a pause repeat on it, and we loved that game.
It was a really fantastic game. And let's also not forget, Alpha Dog Games was working on the Mighty Doom mobile game, now shutting down August 7th. And I'm not going to lie, that was a little cheesy. Mighty Dooms was Doom, but with like cartoons. And like, why do they feel like they got to do that? You're not Fallout Shelter. Like, just stay in your lane, all right? And Roundhouse Studios was primarily serving a support role at the time of its closures. But unfortunately, layoffs have become a common occurrence in video game industry in recent years, with companies of all sizes cutting staff or closing studios entirely. And Xbox has also undergone multiple rounds of layoffs in the past year. So clearly people online were showing their dismay for the news and their animosity towards the developers and publishers let go, with the first comment saying, "Can't we bully Microsoft like we did to Sony?"
Let's get the Helldivers team over and see what happens. I know Helldivers 2 is not on Xbox, though, unfortunately.
So maybe Xbox knew that this is the main reason why we need to keep Helldivers 2 off. They got a toxic community. Better to refrain.
Toxic towards the actual publisher rather than other players.
Yeah, they go, it's, it is Sony's fault. Yeah, look, it's not us this time around. Next comment that we got here is, Microsoft is a graveyard, but you're not ready for this conversation. So yeah, I mean, there have been people out there that have been saying like, why didn't you guys just like sell the studio instead of just dismantling it altogether? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it's just like you want to crush the competition because if we sell this, they're going to go make great games, and we don't want that to happen. But we can't afford, quote, can't afford to keep them open anymore.
It's like, so it's living in the shadows, staring at them like, man, you just made me remind me of stuff of like Shea Alexander, on the OKC Thunder. We used to have him on the LA Clippers. If you're a Clipper fan out there, I mean, you must be watching going, what a damn shame with Kawhi and another meniscus, injury. That's the same thing. They don't want to be like lurking in the shadows going, we could have been there. We could still be in the playoffs. But hey, let's keep moving it on with these comments. Next one that we got here is, why Hi-Fi Rush?
Seriously. That game won awards. And you were literally just saying that you needed more games like this. Well, you said that today.
That's true. That's a great point. I was actually about to get onto that as well. Why is Phil Spencer doing a town hall literally the next day, today, the day of this live show, that he's going, hey, look, we want to make smaller games so we can get more prestige and awards? Odd.
Yeah, you gave away some of that.
Big time. Arcane didn't deserve this. They were forced to make a game they didn't want to make by Microsoft. All the Xbox fanboys who cheered when Microsoft was buying up everything are now going to see why everyone else knew this was bad for gaming and gamers. I don't know if I quite necessarily agree with that one, man. Like, we were like one of the first people like right on top of it to be like, hey, Arcane Austin, you guys are so much better than this. Like, why the slow delays? Why the mix up of everything? There's a reason why we covered a stat saying 60% of play time in the year of 2023 went to older titles 6 years or older. If you're going to make a shitty game and you don't make the updates and the patches to retain that target audience, of course.
Well, I'd say even if you do put out the patches quickly, you've already lost the audience the second you've released a game that hasn't been finished.
So it
happens so often now in the industry that a game comes out and it's not good at launch.
Right.
6 months down the road, maybe, or maybe even 3 months down the road, it gets fixed. And, 3 months is quick for that sort of thing. And you've already lost the audience that was already hyped for the game, and the reputation of it is gone.
Yeah, it's true, man. And like, trust me, I'm not saying like no one's celebrating layoffs. No one wants to see that happen. But, on a level, you're going to have to make a strategic decision about where you want to spend your dollar bills. And some of these people are actually coming back to the team. They're just being labeled under a different name, which we will discuss in a moment. But the next comment we got here is, buy company, lay off workers, pay shareholders, garbage business model, tax billionaires, and wealthy corporations. You could view it as that. The next comment is, remember, so many people thought Microsoft's accusations were good They cut over 15,000 jobs since their acquisitions of Bethesda and Activision Blizzard. I know it was at least 2,000 at the start of this year, but yeah, it's a lot. I mean, they're completely downsizing these studios and making them focus more on what Phil Spencer would say, prestiges and awards for smaller games, or maybe focusing more on their blockbuster games, like they got Indiana Jones coming up. Who knows? They might got something else that we have no idea.
Focusing on, I know some of the team is moving over to Elder Scrolls Online, a live service game that makes them money monthly.
Exactly. That's such a good point, Henrik, because, some people might view it like this. Is Xbox strategy for making more games akin to trying to fill a leaky bucket where they keep adding more water, but the bucket keeps springing new leaks, leading to more closures and layoffs?
Yeah, they seem to really be banking, just as every other big studio is doing recently. They're banking on their live service games to be what makes them money, but they're losing the second part of that. Sure, you can rely on, the live service games to make the majority of your money, but you should also invest in maybe making some smaller titles that aren't necessarily live service, because people want those as well. Like Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush was not a live service game. It was a standalone, single-player title made by a very talented team to the point that it won awards. And now you're basically saying, oh, we do want games like that, but we also don't really want to actually make games like that because they don't make us money.
It's true. It's always going to be about the money. And it's like how I was stating earlier, 60% of playtime in the year 2023 went to video games 6 years old or older, with its biggest competition being Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto Online, Call of Duty, and Roblox. And it's like, as you stated earlier, Hendrik, you put it out perfectly, because I think the gamers need to realize, year after year, microtransactions from FIFA Ultimate Team mode alone, I'm talking about a game mode, I'm not talking about the overall game, the game mode makes more money than Elden Ring's entire sale run. It doesn't matter whether Kai Sanat this weekend does 100-hour plus game stream. It will never make back the money. Never make back the money. They've made back their money. But what I'm saying is they'll never match the kind of magnitude that FIFA Ultimate Team can bring in. It's wild. And, and that's why Disney, this year put $1.5 billion in equity stake towards Epic Games to build this Disney immersive world, because they understand that, that's where the future of gaming is going, whether you like it or not. That's why I don't really care when people make fun of me for being a Sony lover and PS5, and you go, they only focus on cinematic games. Well, there's still a target audience like myself that wants to see more story games, Henrik, but let this not be the demise. Please not.
Even on Sony's end, though, some of those games are being canceled regularly and being delayed and then eventually canceled, and they're kind of being pushed out the door in a sense. Yeah, it's not just Xbox, but Xbox is the topic here because they obviously have a big example of it doing here.
That's a good point, and I'm really curious on what you think about this, Henrik, because in an email from Matt Booty obtained by IGN, it was explained that these shutdowns are about, quote, prioritizing high-impact titles and further investing in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games, end quote. Doesn't that kind of sound the complete opposite of what Phil Spencer just said in the town hall meeting today about how we want to make smaller games with prestige and rewards, but then we also have an email obtained by IG? No one really knows what the hell Microsoft is cooking up, and I think for me, I really do believe that they're focusing on not producing mass amount of games and really just kind of funneling it down to these AAA titles like we're about to get with Indiana Jones. And then I really believe they're more focused on the service side of the future of Xbox compared to the goods, like the product of.
When you delve into the service side of things, you're looking at basically Game Pass, right? At that point.
Exactly. That's why I think they're going.
The thing is I'm not really sure. I don't think anyone's really sure except the people at Microsoft on how much of the share of the Game Pass funds go towards smaller titles like Hi-Fi Rush, which is on Game Pass.
Right.
So I don't know. It's probably skewed towards the bigger titles, I'd
Well,
imagine.
it just makes me feel that, Oli, because, if you think about it, like we were kind of throwing out into the air right now, well, why didn't you just sell the studio and let someone else acquire that entire team? That just only kind of tells me, no, we're going to just close these studios for good because we want to retain those licenses from those old past games so we can throw those into our services. We're not going to just give it to you so then you can provide it on a different service. If you guys want those old titles, you need to talk with us to be able to provide it onto Netflix gaming or in the future, Amazon, Luna, Nvidia, their cloud service, and etc. The list goes on and on and on. I think that's kind of where we are going. This really feels like we're in that era of the mix, the change of tides like we're seeing in Hollywood, where it's not really the traditional studios running the show anymore. It's the likes of the streaming services like the Netflix and the Disneys and the Amazons of the world really changing the tide. Just hopefully we don't all get caught in the undertow and have to fork in tons of money to be playing our beloved titles in the future.
But the future is wild.
Yeah.
There's things that could happen one way or the other, and we won't know until it's there. But hopefully we all end up better for it.
Big time. Yes,
but we do
exactly.
have other futuristic things going on in the world.
This is a great segue, Henry. You really got to break this down because it's not generating any kind of publicity, but this manufacturer feels like they are completely changing the tide, when it comes to the VR world. Break it down.
Yeah, Valeo's new extended reality racing game is like having a virtual NASCAR track in your car. So now you can crash into your friend's house in the game and in real life at the same time. All jokes aside, from the back seat, you can use a video game controller to navigate an animated race car in and out of real traffic while trying to collect coins and avoid obstacles like traffic cones.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm so glad you said all jokes aside. I was getting really concerned. I was like, are you like one of those like cracked out, like, GPS apps? Like
you were going to be like, I guess I'm not ever riding in a car with Henry.
No, I think we're going to need my own personal chauffeur when we're going out to local events, Henry. But let's go ahead and show the teaser. As you can see in the video, while some VR headsets might turn your car into a vomit comet, Vallejo Racer promises a smoother ride because the game is synchronized with the car's movement. You're not wearing a virtual reality headset. You are looking at a tablet or a screen on the back of the headrest. So, Henrik, are gamers ready to dive into the immersive virtual world in a moving car, trusting that they won't end up feeling more like a crash test dummy than a racing pro?
Okay, is it just me, or does this look very cheesy and kind of gimmicky? And why is it that every time that something cool with VR is, or quote unquote cool with VR is presented to people, it's this?
No,
that's like, maybe I'll try it once or twice.
Yeah, in a sense, that's true. I mean, we've had, different adaptions that we were like highlighting last week, where we had Ginges VR, however she pronounces her name, where she was putting on those haptic suits and immersing herself in the Skyrim
of dragon breathing fire.
Yes, exactly. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check out last week's show. But you see stuff like that and you're going, wow, that feels really, really immersive. And then you get it. They're utilizing some of the camera tools that are utilized with certain updated vehicles, but you just feel like it's still blurry, it's pixelated. It's like a fresh new Twitch streamer that's trying to figure out how bitrate works when they're trying to stream their video games. Nothing's quite in HD, but I guess it is kind of cool to be able to bring gameplay to that road trip experience. That definitely feels like they're onto something in a sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, I feel like even the Game Boy that I had growing up that I would take in the car was maybe more enticing to play than this.
So this feels
Maybe
more
if you
like
have nothing else to play, but
yeah, maybe the target audience for these kind of style of games are for like 8-year-olds and younger, because it does feel like Pong or Temple Run. There's not, Mom,
are you
I
gonna
need to
strap
turn
a
right.
headset? Does that mean you're gonna strap a headset on an 8-year-old?
Yeah, that's true. And you are only forced to go the one way. And what happens when you're like stuck at a red light? I guess it only works when you're on the highway, I suppose. Like you couldn't be stuck on the 101 freeway in the middle of downtown Los Angeles
traffic?
playing this. Yes, like and your car's just zipping away and you're like, I can't see anything because I'm bumper to bumper with this asshole that's driving 15 miles per hour. Move it, Grandma. But it's cool. It's not quite all the way there yet, but I don't know. Vallejo Racer, if you're watching, I'm not going to say no to an invitation. I'd definitely love to try out this new experiment. I think you guys are on to something, but, I definitely get motion sickness, so just don't do the whole VR headset thing. Stick to what you guys are doing right now.
Maybe we can give you some tips while we're there on what we would want to see, as actual gamers and not just
exactly. Could you imagine if this was like, could you imagine if they could like be able to implement like Mario Kart into the mix, like maybe slip on a banana peel or something?
Like, the licensing to do that and everything from Nintendo, that'd be cool.
Right, because
and then imagine this. Another car next to you has a similar system that's compatible, and now all of a sudden you're playing Mario Kart with the car next to you.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because that is what Vallejo Racer has been highlighting, at least that's what they said at South by Southwest this year, that you can, what they're working on further adapting is being able to connect it to a potential passenger right next to you. That kind of got me like a little spooked out in a sense, because you always kind of make that joke, whether you're like your phone's listening to you, are we going into this like this world of like Hong Kong was protesting a couple years back, where we're like a little bit too much surveillance in our lives, and how much are you actually giving to Vallejo Racer? Those are all those kind of concerns that would definitely have to be fleshed out, because that wouldn't want, I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily want a random passenger next to me just like trying to link up with me. I don't know if you have to be on my certain friend request. How does that work on Discord or whatever? I have no idea, but definitely really, really cool. Who knows whether this will be the future of VR gaming or artificial reality. Who freaking knows? But man, this has been such a jam-packed show, and we can't thank you, the gamers, for tuning in live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because if it wasn't for you, this show would not be possible. And since we are here, we definitely want to throw out our QR code. So if you're not following me on YouTube, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show. I know life can get busy, so that's why the bell's there for you. It's gonna jazz up on your phone. Come on, what are you waiting for? Jingle that bell, baby.
Ding. And
that's right.
Go ahead and scan that QR code. You'll go to my YouTube channel, watch some of the memes, join in on the conversation. There's people having great conversations in some of the memes, like the last one I did, which is about the Sony getting bullied by Helldivers community. So have fun.
Yeah, big time. And again, thank you guys so much. And we will see you next week live at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Wednesday. See you soon, fam. Peace.
See ya.